Good morning, students. In the last class, we discussed about the Carnot cycle and we derived the relation which is shown here on the screen. That is, efficiency of the reversible heat engine is equal to 1 minus TL by TH. It means the efficiency of the reversible heat engine is a function of temperature only. And I also told you that we can also call it as efficiency of the Carnot cycle, and C here represents Carnot. So basically a Carnot cycle is a reversible cycle in which all the four processes are reversible. Basically there are two reversible isothermal processes and two reversible adiabatic processes. And if we want that the efficiency of Carnot cycle should increase, then you can see this particular expression, efficiency of reversible heat engine or efficiency of Carnot cycle is equal to 1 minus TL over TH. So it's evident if we will reduce the value of the TL, in that particular case the efficiency will actually increase. So this will increase, or otherwise if we go for increasing the value of the TH, in that particular case also this ratio will reduce and the efficiency will increase. Now the question arises, if we have both TL, if it can be reduced by say 5 Kelvin, and the other option which is available to us is that TH is to be increased by 5 Kelvin, then we need to check which is a better option. You can try this particular case and find and let me know what is the better option, whether we should go for reducing the lower temperature by 5 Kelvin or whether we should go for increasing the higher temperature by 5 Kelvin. You can consider the following values. Initial values can be considered as, let us say, TH is equal to 600 Kelvin, TL is equal to 300 Kelvin, and then what you can do is you can assume that the value of TH is now 605 Kelvin and the value of TL is equal to 300 Kelvin. And the third case, you can consider that TH is still 600 Kelvin and TL is equal to 30. Okay, we have to reduce this value by 5, so it would be 295 Kelvin. So you see, for all these three cases, what is the value of the efficiency of the Carnot cycle and in which case it increases more. So that is what I give you as an assignment or a question, logical question. Now let us see this particular case. What I have shown here is, once again I have written the formula. So the value of the uh, low temperature is 30 degrees Celsius, high temperature is 300 degrees Celsius, and I have calculated the value of efficiency of the reversible heat engine. So it is equal to 1 minus 30 divided by 300, and the value comes out to be 0.9, which is 90%. Now my question is that, is this value correct? So I want to know whether I have calculated it correctly or not. So you can pause this video for a moment and then try to think whether it is correct or not. And then in the next slide, I am going to tell you the correct answer for it. So basically, the calculation which I did was wrong actually, because the value of TL and TH should be in Kelvin. So you can see it here. I have added 273 to this 30 degrees Celsius, and to this 300 degrees Celsius also I have added 273 to convert both the temperatures in Kelvin. So you can find what is the exact answer for it. I have not calculated it. It was just an example to make you understand that the temperature is to be considered in, or to be taken in Kelvin here. Okay, and you can see whenever you are considering the temperature, if it is in capital T, it is usually considered in Kelvin, and most of the places we are taking the temperature in Kelvin, except where we have to use it for calculating the heat transfer. We are calculating, for example, if Q is there and you are calculating MCP delta T, whenever you are calculating delta T value, so whether you take the value in Kelvin or whether you take it in degree Celsius, that will not matter, because that 273 will cancel out. from the difference part. Now, till now, we have studied the Carnot cycle uh, for a closed system. You can see it here. I explained you about the Carnot cycle, and we have considered this particular cylinder and piston arrangement where there was a gas here and there was no inlet and no outlet. So it was a closed system, and I have told you about this, that we are doing it analysis for a closed system. Now we are I'm going to tell you about that how this Carnot cycle can be assumed in case of a steady flow system. So steady flow, you remember that in this particular case there will be mass which is entering and there is mass which is leaving, and both the mass flow rates are actually equal. So how we can think about it? Here there are four components. First of all, the first one you can see it's a heat exchanger. The uh, second one is a, you can say, pump here. The third one once again is a heat exchanger, and the fourth one is a turbine. So basically we are starting from this particular point up to this particular point. That means I am talking about the process 1 to 2. So in the process 1 to 2 we are transferring heat Q1 from the source temperature T1 to this heat exchanger, and this process is taking place at constant temperature. So you can see it's T1 is written here. So it's T1 is actually higher temperature, which you can consider as TH actually. So it is the higher temperature, and we are supplying the heat to the heat exchanger A at the high temperature at constant temperature, and then it enters into the turbine, which is denoted here as turbine as component B, and here the reversible adiabatic process takes place. Means you can call it as PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. So this is the process which is taking place. After that, we are ejecting heat in the heat exchanger to the surroundings, or to the sink, which is at a temperature, you can say TL. And once again this process is taking place at the constant temperature, and after that we are carrying out the pumping process in the pump, which is denoted here as D, and this process of pumping is taking place as PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. So it's a reversible adiabatic compression process. So basically we have tried to present this Carnot cycle for a steady flow system in which there are four components, and all those four processes which were occurring in the case of a closed system, they are also occurring here in case of an open system. So here there are two heat exchangers in which processes are taking place at constant temperature, and these two heat exchangers are heat exchanger number A, which is shown here, and the other heat exchanger is heat exchanger C. These are the two heat exchangers where the processes are taking place at high temperature and low temperature respectively. And then we have two reversible adiabatic processes which are taking place in a turbine, which is denoted here as B, and the second one is the pump, where also the process which is taking place is a reversible adiabatic process. Okay, and there is one very important point here, you can read it. To satisfy the condition for the Carnot cycle, there must not be any friction or heat transfer in the pipelines through which the working fluid flows. So basically, I have already told you the friction makes a process irreversible. So there should not be any friction when the fluid is flowing in the pipelines. Where are the pipelines? These are the pipelines. This is a pipeline. This is a connecting pipeline. Okay, which is connecting the heat exchanger to the pump. Then there is, this is another pipeline. Then we have this pipeline. Then we have this pipeline. So there are four pipelines which are connecting the different components of the Carnot cycle. But I would like to tell you that a Carnot cycle is not a practical system. It's not a practical system. Whatever has been shown here, whatever the processes we have considered, it cannot happen in practical. Okay, or experimentally we cannot perform or make such a cycle. Actually there are two reversible adiabatic processes and there are two reversible isothermal processes. That is not possible in real sense actually. Now let us talk about it, the reversed heat engine. Till now our focus was on the Carnot cycle which we are using for a heat engine. Okay, we talked about the Carnot cycle where we talked about the heat engine, and we said this Carnot heat engine is basically a reversible heat engine. Okay, it's a reversible heat engine. So when we say reversible heat engine, you know all the four processes are reversible. There are two reversible adiabatic processes and there are two reversible isothermal processes. And we just in the previous two topics we have discussed about it for a closed system and also for a open system. Now, when we talk about a reversed heat engine, what actually happens? So let us read a little bit first of all before I explain you the diagram. Since all the processes of the Carnot cycle are reversible, it is possible to imagine that the processes are individually reversed and carried out in the reverse order. So what we are trying to say here is that we would like to reverse all the processes. So you can see if you see the previous cycle here, you can see this is actually moving clockwise like this. Okay, it is going like this. So the cycle is taking place in the clockwise direction. So when I say that all the processes are to be reversed and carried out in reverse order, it means now I want to carry out the cycle in the opposite direction, that is anti-clockwise direction. So all heat interactions will be reversed, all directions of the processes will be reversed. So let us try to understand it from here. So what is the meaning here? When a reversible process is reversed, all the energy transfers associated with the processes are also reversed in direction but remain the same in magnitude. So the values will remain the same but the direction will be reversed actually. The Carnot reversed Carnot cycle for a steady flow system is shown in figure. So you can see here in the previous case the cycle was going in the clockwise direction. Now you see it is taking place in the opposite direction. So we can start it from this particular point. If I say this is point number 4, this is point number 1. So what is happening in this particular case? In the previous case, the heat exchanger C was rejecting heat to the sink. Now what is happening? We have the sink here. I can call this temperature as TL. I can call this Q2 as QL. Okay, and this heat is entering into the heat exchanger, and then after this, it is moving in the anti-clockwise direction. The fluid enters into the turbine, and now rather calling it as a turbine, it will become basically a compressor. It won't be a turbine now. Okay, it will become a compressor because you know about the turbine part, that is why it is written as turbine, but now it is functioning in the opposite direction. So what is happening here? The fluid is entering at this particular temperature T2 and it is coming out at temperature T1 because the compression is taking place. And after that, from the compressor, the heat is being rejected to the high temperature reservoir here. So this is the high temperature reservoir. Earlier this heat was entering here in the heat exchanger, but now it is being transferred from the heat exchanger A to the high temperature reservoir at temperature TH. And then after that we have a rather than pump, now it would be a sort of expander here. Okay, it would be expander, and in the expander the expansion is taking place from temperature T1 to temperature T2. So let us try to understand it once again, how the various processes are taking place. Once again, if you see this first heat exchanger, this is heat exchanger C. So QL amount of the heat is entering into it, and this heat is entering at constant temperature TL. So it is a constant temperature or reversible isothermal process. And then the compression is taking place, and this compression takes place as T raised to power gamma is equal to constant. That is in a reversible adiabatic manner. And then the heat is transferred from the heat exchanger A to the high temperature reservoir, and this heat transfer is taking place at temperature TH, which is considered as constant. and then there is a expander in which the process which is taking place is PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. That is a reversible adiabatic process, and the expansion takes place and we get certain work output which has been shown here. It is WP because it was pump shown to be per pump, but actually it is WE. Instead of turbine it should be WC. Okay, so I hope you have understood, and basically now it has become a sort of refrigeration system because we are transferring fuel from the low temperature, and this heat is being thrown to the either to the atmosphere or to the room at high temperature pH. So basically this is once again a cycle of the refrigerator or a heat pump depending upon the purpose for which we are using it. For example, if our purpose is to maintain the temperature in the sink TL, then it will be called as the refrigerator. If our purpose is to transfer the heat to the high temperature to the room at temperature TH, then it will become a heat pump. So totally depends upon the uh, it totally depends upon the purpose for which we are utilizing it. Let us see here. I have tried to make the simpler sketches here. This is the heat engine cycle. We are calling it as the reversible heat engine, in which QH amount of the heat is entering QH amount of the heat is entering here into the reversible heat engine. We are getting W, and actually it should be W reversible because this is a reversible heat engine. So whatever the work which we are getting is denoted as W reversible, and then the heat rejected is QL to the low temperature TA. And now you can see here we have reversed this cycle. Uh, QL amount of the heat is being taken from uh, the source at TL. Now you can see this is the lower temperature, but now we are calling it as a source. Okay, so in case of refrigerator and heat pump, the low temperature is actually source because we are taking out the heat from it, and then we are supplying the reversible work here into the this device, which could be either reversible refrigerator or it could be reversible heat pump. So reversible refrigerator is denoted as RR, and reversible heat pump is denoted as RHP. And then this QH amount of the heat is thrown to the high temperature reservoir at temperature TH. So basically, when we reverse all the processes of a Carnot heat engine, and simultaneously we can also change the direction also of the energy interactions which are taking place with the system, then we get a reversed heat engine. Okay, we get a reversed heat engine. So that should always remember. Now let us once again, the same thing is shown here. Uh, yes. So here what has been shown is that suppose this is the reversible heat engine. Okay, you can see what is happening. There are four components: A, B, C, D, and this E denotes the reversible heat engine. You are getting the W to T. Here you are inputting the work WP, so the net work which you are getting is WT minus WP, and this is the high temperature, and this is the low temperature here. Okay, and the heat which is entering is Q1. We have called it as QH, and this is QL. Okay, and similarly this is showing the reverse part. Actually this is the reverse, so this E is written in the opposite direction, in the opposite way, to show that the engine has been reversed. Here you can see this is going in the clockwise direction, here it is taking place in the anti-clockwise direction. So you can see the energy interactions of W2 has been reversed, WP has been reversed, Q1 has been reversed in the direction, Q2 also has been reversed in the direction. So this is basically a reversible heat pump or reversible refrigerator, and this is a reversible heat engine actually. So this I have already shown here, this I have already explained you. Now let us see here. Now let us talk about Carnot's theorem. So till now we discussed about the Carnot cycle and reversed Carnot heat engine, okay, or reversed Carnot cycle. We have talked about two things. Now we are going to talk about the Carnot's theorem. So let us read it. It's very, very simple. It's not at all difficult at all. So uh, it states that of all heat engines operating between a given constant temperature source and a given constant temperature sink, none has a higher efficiency than a reversible heat engine. So its meaning is very clear. If we have a heat engine, let us see this word we can ponder upon. Heat engine operating between a given constant temperature. So which is the source actually. So I am calling this temperature as TL and a given constant sink temperature. So it is TL. None has a higher efficiency than a reversible heat engine. So if you take any heat engine, its efficiency cannot be greater than the reversible heat engine. So basically, effectively, it says that the efficiency of the reversible heat engine will always be greater than efficiency of any other heat engine or any other normal heat engine. At the most, the efficiency of this heat engine, which is a normal heat engine, can be equal to the reversible heat engine, but it cannot be more than the reversible heat engine. So you can see here, if we look this particular diagram here, you can see there is a high temperature source. This is the low temperature sink, and there is a heat engine. Now this heat engine is HE. Okay, so I am calling this as a normal heat engine. It's a normal heat engine. It's not a reversible heat engine. We are taking out heat QH from it. We are getting work as W, and heat QL is rejected. So we call this efficiency of the heat engine as 1 minus QL by QH. Now, this is important to understand here. This efficiency of the normal heat engine is in terms of heat transfer rates. Okay, so it is QL. That means the heat rejected. This is heat rejected, and this is heat supplied. So this efficiency is for the normal heat engine. So this is how we are writing its efficiency. Now, when we talk about a reversible heat engine, now I am calling this as a reversible heat engine. So I am considering the same heat which is being transferred from the high temperature reservoir. It is going to the reversible heat engine, and then we are getting this W reversible, and we are rejecting, this heat engine is rejecting QL amount of the heat to the low temperature. Yes, now you can see this is the efficiency of the reversible heat engine, which is given by 1 minus TL by TH. Why there is difference? We have just studied the topic of Carnot cycle. Here we prove that the efficiency of the reversible heat engine is given by 1 minus TL by TH, and it is basically, this reversible heat engine is nothing but a Carnot engine. Okay, it's a Carnot engine in which there are two reversible isothermal processes and two reversible adiabatic processes. So basically, if we call a reversible heat engine, it is operating on Carnot cycle, and there are all four processes are actually reversible processes. Whereas if we are talking about a normal heat engine, the processes may have some irreversibilities, because of which the efficiency of a normal heat engine is always less. This is what I have written here. And at the most, what can happen is that the efficiency of a normal heat engine can be either equal to or less than the efficiency of a reversible heat engine. Now, I will give you some example to show you what is the difference between the normal heat engine and the reversible heat engine. I have taken an example. I said that we have a thermal reservoir which is acting as the source at 600 Kelvin here, and we are drawing up 1000 kilojoules of heat from it, and we are supplying this heat to this normal heat engine HE, and this heat engine is producing work W while it is rejecting heat QL, which is equal to 600 kilojoules, and this sink, which is maintained at a temperature of 300 Kelvin. So we would like to see how this heat engine is different from a reversible heat engine. So if I will talk about the normal heat engine, this is the formula for the efficiency of the normal heat engine. And if you will try to write this efficiency value in terms of the work, then I will say that the efficiency is actually equal to work which we are getting out as the output from this heat engine divided by the amount of the heat which we are supplying to this heat engine. So actually, we know the values of QL and the values of QH. So we can put it here, and you can see it. The efficiency of the normal heat engine comes out to be 40%. And when we calculate the value of the W, it's quite easy. You can see what is the value of the W. It is equal to QH minus QL. So QH is 1000 and QL is 600. The work value comes out to be 400. We could have calculated the value of the work from this particular equation also. Once we have calculated the value of the efficiency, the value of QH is already with us, so we can calculate the value of the work also for the normal heat engine. Now let us have a look at the reversible heat engine. In case of reversible heat engine, what I am presuming is that I am getting the same amount of the heat which I was getting in case of normal heat engine. Means the amount of the heat supplied from the source at 600 Kelvin. This is the source. Okay, at 600 Kelvin. Okay, so I am getting 1000 kilojoules of energy, which is same as the energy or the heat which I was getting from the uh, for the case of the normal heat engine. But now this heat I am supplying to a reversible heat engine, and that is why I am getting the W reversible here, and we are rejecting the remaining heat QL to the low temperature at TL. Now let us try to understand how we are going to calculate its efficiency. So the efficiency of the reversible heat engine will be calculated using the equation 1 minus TL over TH. And now this is also equal to W reversible divided by supply. So you can see when I put these values, I get TL as 300, this is 600. So the efficiency of the reversible heat engine comes out to be 50%, whereas the efficiency of the normal heat engine was 40% only. So basically the efficiency of a reversible heat engine is larger, even though the temperatures limits in case of both the engines is same. Both the engines are operating between the same temperature limits of 300 Kelvin and 600 Kelvin. But the reversible heat engine efficiency is more in comparison to the normal heat engine. Okay, so at the most, what could be the efficiency of the normal heat engine? Yes, a normal heat engine can approach the efficiency of a reversible heat engine. So the efficiency of a normal engine can be as good as 50% if it is operating between 300 and 500 Kelvin, 300 and 600 Kelvin, but not more than that value we can achieve. And now let us try to find out what is the value of the work. Now you know from this particular equation, you know the value of the efficiency. You can pick it as 50%, that is 50 by 100. You know the value of the QH, which is 1000. So if you will calculate the value of the W, which is the missing value, so you can get the value of the W reversible as 500 kilojoules. So in the previous case, when it was not the normal heat engine, the value of the work was 400 kilojoules. Now it is 500 kilojoules. So I hope this difference between the normal heat engine and the reversible heat engine is clear to you. Okay, let us proceed next. Once again, I have pointed out important things here. W is 400 for the normal heat engine. For the reversible heat engine, the value is 500 kilojoules. So it implies that the efficiency of the reversible heat engine is always greater than or at the most equal to the normal heat engine. Okay, that means other I should have said in the reverse way that the efficiency of the normal heat engine can never be greater than the efficiency of a reversible heat engine. At the maximum, it can approach the efficiency of the reversible heat engine. Now what I have tried to do is I have written the equations for the efficiency of the reversible heat engine and the normal heat engine. So you can see I told you I am supplying the same amount of the QH, okay, which was considered as 1000. So what will happen? This 1000 and this 1000 cancels out, and you are left with that the W of the reversible heat engine is always greater than or equal to the work in case of normal heat engine. So you can see it here. 1 minus TL by TH has to be greater than or equal to 1 minus QL by QH. So this is directly on the basis of this particular equation that I have written this particular equation here. So 1 can be cancelled out on both the sides. It is cancelled out and we are left with TL by TH is equal to QL by QH. And finally I get this particular equation, QL by TL is equal to QH by TH. So this is very, very important equation. You should always remember it actually. Okay. Now, yeah, this is a very good question. Whenever I used to go for teaching a basic mechanical engineering class to first year students, I always ask this question, and it's really a very, very good question. And let us read it first of all. A salesperson comes to an industrialist and tells him that my company has developed an engine. This my means this salesman is saying to that industrialist has developed an engine which is very good, have high efficiency, and Carnot's engine is nothing in front of it. So he is saying that Carnot engine is a waste engine. The efficiency of our engine is higher than the efficiency of the Carnot's engine. So this is the claim of this salesperson. The industrialist is impressed by his claims, by the claims of the salesperson, and thinks, what should he do? So he's thinking, what should he do? He suddenly remembers that you have graduated as an engineer from DTU and have been selected being among the top 10% students of the university. So your selection is based on your marks which you have got in your when you did your degree from DTU and you were in the top 10% of the student. And then he calls you and says, "Good gentleman, I am paying you $5,000. So $5,000 means this is your salary which you are going to get from that industrialist, which is approximately in Indian rupees, it would be 3.5 lakhs approximately. And this salesman is offering that industrialist says you that he is offering a new technology of a heat engine, and you being a qualified engineer from DTU, go through this offer and tell me whether this offer is good for us or not. If you guide us properly, I will enhance your salary by 10%. And if your calculations will be wrong, you will be fired. So be cautious. You can be fired also. You being a new trainee, think it's a good offer and talk to salesman and ask him to tell you the specifications of the engine. The salesman tells you the values, that the value of lower temperature is 34 degrees Celsius, higher temperature is 345 degrees Celsius, QH value is 1256 kilojoules, and QL is 256 kilojoules. Now, it is up to you to tell what is your opinion about this engine. Be careful with the answer, as you can be fired also. This is an assignment. So you have to think and give me the answer in the next class. Now, what is the corollary of the Carnot's theorem? See, till now we talked about the Carnot's theorem actually. Now I am going to talk about the corollary of the Carnot's theorem. What is the corollary? It says, since the efficiencies of all reversible heat engines operating between the same heat reservoirs are the same, the efficiency of a reversible heat engine is independent of the nature or amount of the working substance undergoing the cycle. See, what is the meaning of this real Carnot's theorem? We said that from the Carnot's theorem, we said if we have a engine here, if I call this is the reversible heat engine 1, okay, and there are this is the temperature 600 Kelvin. Let us say here we have 300 Kelvin, and here we are getting W reversible. Okay, this is W reversible. And let us say within this reversible heat engine, the cycle which is going on is based on, let us say, water. Okay, H2. I take another heat engine which is also working between 600 Kelvin, and let us call this as reversible heat engine 2. Okay, now it is working on at lower temperature 300 Kelvin, and this is W reversible. And once again, this reversible heat engine cycle is working on, let us say, methane. Okay. Now, what did the Carnot said? Carnot said that if you have a reversible heat engine, then you will get the maximum efficiency, and its efficiency will be given by 1 minus PL over PH if it is a reversible heat engine or the Carnot engine. Now, once we know it, that this efficiency is a function of temperature only. So there is no question of whether it is operating on water or whether it is operating on methane. So that is what is the corollary of the Carnot's theorem. And it also does not depend upon the mass of the water which is circulated in the reversible heat engine one here, or on the mass of the methane which is being circulated here in the reversible heat engine. So that is what is the meaning of the corollary of the Carnot's theorem, that you know that the efficiency of the all reversible heat engines operating between same heat reservoirs means they have the same temperatures. The efficiency of the reversible heat engine is independent of the nature or amount of the working substance. So nature means it could be any substance, could be water, could be air, could be CO2, could be something else. And amount means its mass. So undergoing the cycle. So I hope this is clear to you that the efficiency of a reversible heat engine is independent of the mass as well as the substance which is undergoing the cycle in a Carnot's cycle engine. Now let us talk finally about the efficiencies and the COPs of the reversible heat engine. I said the efficiency of the reversible heat engine is equal to 1 minus TL over TH, and I have given you an assignment also to check what is the effect of the temperature if we lower the TL by 5 Kelvin and if we increase the high temperature by 5 Kelvin. So that is what I have already given you as an assignment. Now let us discuss about the reversible refrigerator. I have shown you that this is a reversible refrigerator. Okay, and this is TL, this is pH, here it is QL, here it is QH, here it is W reversible. Okay, so this is a reversible refrigerator, and now I am going to make a normal refrigerator. So that is only I am using R for denoting a normal refrigerator. So this is TL, this is QL, this is W here, and this is QH. And you know, in case of a normal refrigerator, the COP is given by QL divided by QH minus QL. Now, this is the COP of the refrigerator. So let us try to understand. Let us take this clue. COP of the refrigerator is equal to QL divided by QH minus QL. Now, if I would have written this expression for a reversible refrigerator, I can also write it as number one. I could have written it as QL divided by QH minus QL. Okay, this is the first way of writing it. Then what I will do, I will write it as QH over QL minus 1. Now, it is a reversible refrigerator, and we have said if it is a Carnot cycle means all the processes are reversible. I told you somewhere, I will show you it here. Yes, this equation that QL by TL is equal to QH by TH. Though we derived this equation for the reversible heat engine because all the processes were reversible in that particular case. This is also valid in case of the reversible refrigerator. Okay, so I can utilize this equation here that QL by TL is equal to QH by TH, or otherwise I can say that QH by QL is equal to TH by TL. So you can see the COP of reversible refrigerator comes out to be 1 over TH by TL minus 1. So let us, yeah, I will have to insert one more slide here. Just a minute. Yes, you can write it here. Now COP of a reversible refrigerator is equal to 1 over TH by TL minus 1. And finally it can be written as TL over TL. So this is the value of the COP of the reversible refrigerator. And here I would like to tell you that COP of a reversible refrigerator is always greater than or at the most equal to COP of a refrigerator. Or effectively, it means to say here that the COP of the normal refrigerator can never be greater than that of the COP of a reversible refrigerator. At the most, it can be equal to the COP of the reversible refrigerator. And similarly, if we would like to define the COP of a heat pump, the same diagram as I have drawn earlier, this is a heat pump also. Okay, this is a heat pump, this is TL, this is TH, and here we have this reversible heat pump. Okay, this is the value of W reversible, this is QL, this is QH, and you know if it is a normal heat pump, I will write the value of COP as QH over QH minus QL. But if it is a COP of a reversible heat pump, initially I will use the same expression, but later on I can write it as 1 over 1 minus QL by QH. And I know for a reversible case, QL by QH equal to QL by QH. So from here, the COP of a reversible heat pump is equal to QH divided by QH. Will be equal to QH divided by TH minus TH. And once again, I will say that the COP of reversible heat pump will be greater than or equal to COP of a normal heat pump. Okay. Then finally, this is very important. I am going to tell you about the types of the reversibility. This is the last slide for today's lecture. A process becomes irreversible if it occurs due to finite potential gradient, like the gradient in temperature or pressure, or if there is dissipative effect like friction, in which work is transformed into internal energy increase of the system. So basically, whenever there is friction or there is dissipation of the energy, or there is temperature difference or the pressure difference, then only this process will become irreversible. Now there are two types of the irreversibilities which we have. One is the internal irreversibility and other is the external irreversibility. Now, what is internal irreversibility? Internal irreversibility is caused by the internal dissipative effects like friction, turbulence, electrical resistance, magnetic hysteresis, etc. within system. And external irreversibility refers to the irreversibility occurring at the system boundary, like the heat interaction with the surroundings due to finite temperature difference. I would like to give a simple example for this particular case also. Generally, when I'm taking the offline classes, I will say you as a student, when you are appearing, you have to appear for an examination. What happens is that before the day of the examination, uh, uh, you are trying to perform in the best possible way so that you are able to secure 100% marks. But there can be two types of the irreversibilities which makes your marks less than the 100%. The one could be your own irreversibility, that is when you are trying to read or when you are trying to study, you are just thinking about what your mother is making, is it good, tasty or something like that, and that is going in your mind because you're hungry, and your time is wasted, and it's a sort of irreversibility because of your own thoughts which are happening in your mind actually. There could be some other types of the thoughts within yourself also. You are thinking about some vague joke which your friend said a few days back, and that is wasting your time. And the next day, when the question paper comes, and when you are writing the answers of the questions, you are still remembering that joke in your mind. So it's a sort of the internal irreversibility. Now, what is the external irreversibility? Yes, you are doing your fully hard work. There is no jokes in your mind, no hunger. You are not thinking about whether you are hungry, what your mother is cooking, or what your father is doing, all such sort of thing. But suddenly, you are studying in GTU, you are staying in the hostel, your friend comes and he starts teasing you. And what will happen in that particular case? You are losing time. So it's a sort of external irreversibility. You tried 100% marks, but finally you ended up getting only 90% marks, and 10% marks has been reduced because of that internal irreversibility. In the first case, when you got 95% marks, 5% marks reduced because of the internal irreversibility, which was happening within you only. So whenever the irreversibility occurs within the system boundaries, then it is known as the internal irreversibility. Whereas when it is existing outside the system boundary, then it will be known as the external irreversibility. That is what I wanted to explain you in today's lecture. So I hope you will enjoy today's lecture.